Hello to everyone who's watching this by recording, as well as the people in the room. I'm Dr. Alana. This is the beginning of a 7-week session for people who have data and are ready to finish. So we're going to be talking about data. We're going to be answering questions about data analysis. We're going to dig a lot into what is required in a results finding and discussion sections. We're going to talk a lot about how you tie it all together. And this is the same story, even though some of you will be doing multiple or have done multiple articles, and now you're here to tie that together. Or you might be doing a 5-chapter or a 3-chapter or a 7-chapter dissertation. Whatever it is, if it's research, it's got so many more similarities than it has differences. Now, as I've been telling people in the room, there is 2 polls for this. So if you're watching by recording, I've clicked that these polls should show in the recording section. I'd appreciate it if you'd add data as your data as well. The first poll asks about your writing habits. Do you write a little 5 to 6 days a week? Do you write big sessions and then have trouble sometimes making them? Maybe your writing comes and goes. If not so much, you might have trouble with procrastination, and you might just say it's a known problem and I'm not sure how to solve it. I need to know where you start on writing, because you're up against the end of a mountain climb. And the habits that you have, we're going to talk about today because they're going to make that mountain climb easier. So please let me know where you are now. The second thing is, have you taken the survey at surveymonkey.com/r/docs finishing, DOCSFINISHING. Please take that survey, because it tells me what concerns are in the room, what kind of data you have. It helps me plan the most efficient way through this set of challenges. And we'll be here once a week live at this time. If you haven't signed up for them all, let me right now go get you that URL. You should sign up for all of them. And then you will want to sign up for one or more of the open office hours. Open office hours are my time to be live and answer questions. The open office hours on Wednesday is not recorded, and it's for people who come and share their webcams and their cameras, and they ask the questions that we just dig right into and we never know what we're going to answer. The open office hours on Thursday are, you type in a question to www.wooclap.com/summer cues. And Thursday, I answer those questions. Now, you're sharing open office hours with another class that's going on where people don't have data. They're at the earlier part of this syndrome. So if you have questions, get them in to Summer Cues, and they will get answered. Even if you don't make it to that, if you've signed up for it, you'll get the recording and you'll get your question answered. So that's our communication. And then the last communication option, all of you should have access to a PD education site, either because your university has given it to you, or because you, if you don't have access through a university, then you go into the demo site. And if you don't have access to the demo site, bear with me a second. So these are for people who don't have access through their university. And just for this class, just for a short period of time, you'll be able to have access because you'll need the materials there. And you will need to go to this link pd.education/university-registration.html. Go there, register, and then there's a pull-down menu and you choose demo. And that lets you into, you can go back to PD Education, you go all the way down to the bottom, there's demo, and you can have the same access everybody else has for the 7 weeks. Because we want you to be successful and we want you to have access to all the tools. Okay, before I go into the goals for today, let me overview who you are. So I don't have a complete list of people who've taken the survey yet, but for those who have, I haven't done the mean because I haven't done all the data on it yet, but you vary from 2 years to 10 years doing your PhD or your doctoral work. The average is probably going to turn out to be 4 or 5. Your fields of study are very varied, from education, human resource, to rehabilitation science. We've got some STEM people, human nutrition, a narrative inquiry, for international education. So a lot of different kinds of people are different fields of study. That's going to be useful because you're going to see the similarities and then you're going to be able to transfer from what other fields of study do into your ideas. Most of you have felt stalled for some reason. Some of it has been COVID related, like your labs got closed down. Others have been that in the process life happened. And some are stalled because the place you are right now with data is a hard place and it can be a place where you get stuck. Your concerns are really the right concerns. Most of you are concerned with tying it all together in a manner that's defensible. That's probably and then some about getting your career done and afterwards, and some about getting your data right, getting it published afterwards so you have your career. This whole results findings section, we will build from there. We will talk about results findings discussion, about how your argument has changed since if you're in the United States and you wrote a 3-chapter proposal, you had an argument during that proposal that was that your work was worthy to go forward. Your argument has now changed and needs to change with your results. So we'll talk about that back and forth process and the writing of these parts, no matter what the format you're writing into. And today I'm going to talk about the things you need to get under you to have a good foundation about all of that. When I hear about the things that have gone on in your life, all kinds of things, time management, and that you're up against some particular things, some known entities in your own head that are running through, like, am I a good enough writer? Am I smart enough to do this? Imposter syndrome, anxiety stuff. Those are all pretty much part of this game sooner or later. So just to say, you're within this big pot of people who are very more similar to you than different, no matter what their particular situations are. So what are we going to do with all that? Well, today I'm going to talk about tools and habits. We've got to build a firm foundation. I'm also going to give you a backwards map for how you can finish in 6 months to a year. Divide you into groups by your data type. A little bit. I'm going to need to talk to you a little bit as we go through which ones of you are doing qualitative data research and which ones of you are doing quantitative research, and biology and engineering come in there too. So I'm going to a little bit of kind of how I think this will sort out. I'm going to talk about models. I'm going to give you homework. There's going to be homework every time. Not that you have to turn it in, but that if you keep with that, you will keep making a certain kind of progress, guaranteed. And I'm going to discuss a couple scenarios and timetables, whether you're really ready to be writing yet or whether you want to be thinking a little bit longer. And I'm sorry I have the wrong woo clap. It should be woo clap / summer cues. I'm teaching a lot of classes right now, so sometimes slides slip a little bit. All right, so let's get started. There's a lot of tools that underpin anything I do because of PD.education. So, and if you haven't seen the site yet, stay after, and I will give you a quick overview of how it works. But I really hope you consider some of these tools. If I could be forceful, I would say you must do these things. That's how much I believe in them. There's a link there for some prep work. I believe you were sent an email that said, here's some preparation you can do starting to go into this work. And one of those will take you to a module on the site where I did some conversation about how to do reflective practice, especially when you're watching videos. So a lot of the materials that are underpinning this, that you're going to want to sit down and you're going to have a model and you're going to bring it in and then you're going to say, oh, I don't know if I really understand this. So we have a lot of video materials that you can watch quickly to see, but videos are hard to watch quickly. So here's how I suggest you do it. And that particular, the bottom link gives you some, an actual example of how I watched 7 hours of video and took notes on it in 2 hours. And that's the kind of thing you need to be able to do well at this particular stage. So whether you write on paper or you write on screen, if you write on a screen, it's a table. If you write on paper, it's drawing a line down the middle. You take notes like you've always taken notes for all of your life on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you capture your ideas. This is good for me because, whatever they are, chain of consciousness, we all use that right-hand side differently. But what's important is the right-hand side is actually what guides our work. So say you have data on a particular topic and you are now cruising through all the 3-minute thesis on that topic, or you're cruising through YouTube, or you're doing something where you just want to see what is out there because you need ideas about how this story gets told. Then you click it on and you take notes on things, and then, oh, they had a good idea. You stop, you write out the good idea, and then you come back and you go on. And that way you can go forward. You can slide your mouse forward as you're watching the video to capture. If it's done on slides, when they've changed subjects, the slide changes in the visual. Whatever it is you're cruising through, this lets you, the important thing is right now you're only looking at stuff according to what is it good for you. You're going back into lit to see if there have been any updates on your field since the time you wrote your lit review. You're going through videos to see what people have published in that world. So you're immersing yourselves to some extent in the broader world of your field, and in the how to get this done world as well. This is a great tool. The more you use it, the stronger you'll get, the more your ideas will get. And when you find yourself saying, I need to do that, on the right-hand side, I put a little box first. And then I go back through my notes and I cross off the boxes when I've done them. So it's very useful. On the website, there's a number of things. I'll show them to you later. Don't need to go through that. And once again, this slide snuck in from another class I'm teaching. It should be wooclap.com / summer cues. Okay, now you want to get done? How many of you want to be out of here in 6 to 12 months? And thank you. A lot of people have joined us since I looked at the admin list. For those of you that are just joining, please click the polls box. There are 2 polls. It's very important that I have this data so I know who I'm working with. So as you're listening to me, please go take those polls. Okay, so how do you get done? Just show me by hands. In the chat box, there's a little hand. You can raise it. Raise your hand if you want to be done in 18 to 24 months. No, sorry, should be, that was the first class. If you want to be done in 6 to 12 months. Hands are going up. Yes, 6 to 12 months. We want to be out of here. If you have data, you can do this. If you don't have data, it's more like 18 to 24 because getting the stuff done that gets the data is a hardship. But you're on the end game now. So I want to tell you it's possible. Now, some of you wrote in those of you who have taken the survey so far, some of you wrote that you need outside accountability, that it works for you to have deadlines. Consider this slide your deadline. Hopefully, March to May this year, you were beginning to start your data analysis. You have data, you're beginning to start your data analysis. Even if you're just starting your data analysis now, you may be able to still get done in December, depending on your data. It might be spring, but this is still the reasonable way to finish. And we start at the finish point. This is called backwards mapping for those of you that haven't heard my lectures on this before. You're going to say, I want to be done by December. That's when your final defense or viva is going to be. Okay, if that's your goal, then by October to November, you have to have all your docs done, references and all. Because the last month to 6 weeks is all about the university stuff. You have forms to fill out, you have to get the dates together. There's a lot of stuff. And your docs need to be done most of the time before that stuff happens. So consider your personal deadline to be 6 weeks before your viva or defense if you're in the US. Okay, so then 2 weeks before that, the docs are done, but you still have some small bits. And those small bits can drive you crazy. It's the references, it's the copy editing, it's the getting your formatting right and same all the way through. It's just, there's a lot of small bits at the end. A month before that, your supervisor probably has your document and in fairly good form. They're probably ready to take it before it's picture perfect, just because they probably want to have a few final says before you give it to your full committee. A lot of that part depends on you managing your committee well. And that will depend on your university. So we'll talk about committees, we'll talk about that kind of thing, but it's so varied because your university set that part up with a lot of variation. But you're filling out the forms. That means August, you're massaging the chapters so they are congruent. So you are now halfway through June, and you want to have your chapters written by August. I hope this is making some of you your heart beat a little faster, because now is the critical time for you to set patterns that will absolutely help you get this done. And you have varied lives. So you're working, all kinds of things are going on in your life. So we have to manage that as well. That means that the results chapter needs to be finished by the end of July. Even the middle of July would be good. Results chapter is your biggest. If you've got, assuming you have chapter 1 background, chapter 2 lit, chapter 3, at least in the original draft form of when you were starting, you probably had to do something for your university. And if you're in the US, you probably had to write those 3 chapters or something like that. So you have something. If you're writing articles, you probably have one of those articles, maybe 2 of those articles done. You're working on the 3rd article. Maybe your results are for a little different. So you're somewhere in this same soup. Your soup just looks a little different. But what we're getting down to is that all results need to be figured out. If we're going to make it by December, you have to know your results, because you have to finalize your argument so you can write your final bits by August. So that's July, early June. Now we're working on the idea of argument. Until you have your data completely analyzed and you have your results written, you won't have your argument, but you'll be pretty close. And then you know kind of where it's heading. And if you're in Europe, not in the US, and your process looks more like you're doing it all right now, then I will have some words for you at the end. But for those of you in the US, you will be finishing results, finishing discussion, and massaging chapters 1, 2, and 3 that you wrote for your proposal. For those of you in Europe and the rest of the world, you will be writing as you go. You'll have your results. Results are analyzed. You think you know what your argument is, and then you find models and you build off of the models so that chapters 1, 2, 3 go pretty quick. And I have someone doing that right now, and he was able to write chapter 1 in a week and chapter 2 in a week, and in a week and a half on chapter 3. It is quite doable if you have models. Right, so that's how it's going. Now, how are we going to get there? What does it take? I'm just going to say quickly the models. All right, not so quick. As Adrian says, some of you have been in the room, some of you know about models, but bear with the people who haven't heard this conversation before. You need to search for 5 model finished dissertations or thesis, ideally. One is your topic area. It's your field of study. It's just, and maybe it gets to something close to what your topic was. Another one is your methodology. Doesn't have to be your topic at all. It can be a completely different field, but it uses a methodology very similar. Another one was written or was okayed by your supervisor. If not that, at least your program in your university. Very important. Another one is the award winner. This one can be a little harder to find. You go to, like if you're an educator, you'd go to the American Educational Research Association site. If you're in Britain, you'd go to the British Education Research Association site. If you're a scientist, you go to those research association sites. And almost all research associations nominate outstanding dissertations for awards. And you want to look at those awards. And then as you've been looking at all of those, you've been looking for them and you've been reading other dissertations and you've been saying yes or no, you will come across one that might be none of those things, but you like the way the writer engages you, the reader. You like the way that flows. There's just something about the writing that's spot on. You need to get those. You need to have them on your desk, available to you, or in PDFs. You need to be able to, when you are stuck for how to write something, you import and you write over, because these people are not doing what you're doing. So their subject matter isn't going to be yours, but their sentence structure can be. So you can steal people's ideas for sentence structure, for how they write things out, and that's just fine, because by the time you put your stuff in there, all that's left is the format that you did it on. And that's Really good. Now, when you also need to decide a time of day that works for you, and you need to just do something at that time of day every day. You need to have a momentum to do this. So I write books. I first wrote my dissertation, and now I write books. Every few years, I just make myself crazy and I write another book. And I've learned that my 15 minutes a day, which is more like a half an hour a day, needs to be first thing in the morning. When it's time to write a book, I set the alarm for half an hour, 45 minutes before I ever get up. I have the coffee ready. I climb past the dogs. I get coffee, screen, work is done. It's the first thoughts of my day. I don't do anything else before I do that. That works for me. I have worked with people who were able to do it on lunch hours. I have worked for people who were able to do it last thing at night. Those don't work for me because I've got too many other thoughts, competing thoughts in my head by then, and I can't focus here. This is the hardest thinking you have to do because this is new. This is creative thinking. This is nothing else can interfere thinking. And you live busy lives, as I've seen in the surveys. And so give yourself a break and figure it out and build that momentum. And then get everything out of the way that's going to get in trouble. So if I was going to start working out, I went to bed at night, I'd have my workout clothes right there. If I'm going to do this, before I go to bed, I've figured out I keep a journal. It has in it what I plan to do. I've thought about what I'd like to do the next day, and I have my screen dark, but behind, when I click it, I click on the screen, all of a sudden I can, what I'm looking for is there. The links are up, the things are there. I'm ready to go. And then I can go to bed. I've thought about it. And then another brilliant thing happens. When I'm asleep, if I thought about it before I went to bed, when I'm asleep, my subconscious mind works on it for me. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I get here and I've moved forward without me even working on it at all. You got to do that. If you want to get done in 6 months, you got to do that. You got to build a habit that is rock solid. It's only 6 months, maybe 9 months. You can do this. Backwards mapping. You have the slides in your handouts. Work that backwards map for your own family, for your own work life. Figure out where are the things going to be that are going to interfere with major deadlines. And then right now, figure out how you're going to get past those. You are captain of your own ship. You don't go to the supervisors until you're solid because they are much more like, you have to be able to defend what you take to them now. Perhaps earlier in your graduate career, you went to your supervisor hoping they would help you with something. Don't do that now. Take this and everything PD education has and everything else you find and captain your own ship. And we're going to throw up in this class, we're going to throw up so many, you're going to have an opportunity to put your ideas out there and to have somebody else give you feedback on those ideas. And then you can decide, you can hear that and you can decide how to defend. Because what you're working on right now is not just finishing the document. It's working out how to defend your material when you get there. And we'll talk a lot about defense, and there'll be other resources you can get to for that. But there's so your curve here is not just writing, it's not just research finishing, it is also the what does it take to be in front of other doctors, because by that time you are all but a meeting away from being a doctor. So you, the doctor you're becoming, is in front of the doctors. They have read your work, they have questions about your work, and you have answers to their questions. That's how solid we want to help you. Adrian wrote in what the 5 models are for those of you that were wondering. So you've got it in the chat. Thank you, Adrian. Topic, methodology, advisor's approval, or the program you're in, award winner, flow and writing style. Thank you for writing that up. Okay. What is the role of your committee and your supervisor? If you have this straight in your head, then this next work that you do with them will be easier. Their role is to poke holes in what you thought was solid. So that's the position you take your work, you work it, you put it against models. You're pretty darn sure that it stacks up to other things that have been published. And you even have the other things that have been published by their university. And you go into them and they start to poke holes. And that's good, because if it's early on and they're poking holes, you have a chance of filling them without having to do a lot of work after Defense or Viva. Okay, those are the things. So this is Mount Everest. It's a big deal, right? Lots of people don't make it. Some people die. It's a big deal to climb Mount Everest. But look how many people are on the top of Mount Everest getting their picture taken. So there's some requirements that you're going to be up against. And this is a strategy that I have found to be very, very useful. So you've got your 5 chapters. What are your reviewers going to look for? They're going to look for inconsistencies. And the challenge you have is that maybe some of you have written this final document over a long period of time. And that means, without a doubt, the way you phrase things, the way you think about things has changed. So you're going to need to have time to find those changes and massage them out. You want to do a critical analysis of 5 chapters. I'm going to give you some resources that show you how I did a critical analysis of 5 chapters over a period of time throughout all the chapters. You can watch those videos. We don't have to do the work again. You can see it and you can do that on your own. You need to figure out your argument. So that's where we're going to start, is with the argument and how it's changed for those of you in the United States from what it was, and how you figure out where to put things. For those of you in the rest of the world, which part of the argument goes in each chapter. Then you're going to use your models to help you with that draft. Once again, adopting and rewriting rather than making it all up from your head, because making it all up from your head takes a lot longer. It's the way you've done it, but it is, at this point, you're on a timetable. So it's not plagiarism for the fact that that comes up, because plagiarism is when you take somebody's ideas and you don't give them credit for the fact that you got their ideas. Adopting sentence structure, adopting how they put their headings together, adopting a flow of something that worked for you. No. So adopt and rewrite. Your models become the foundation you work on, and there's some particular videos I will show you. Okay. So you have, right now, what are you doing? Right now, how are you going to get this started? This is a week to think, to pull your stuff together, to start your habits, and to pull in writing and have conversations, put up questions that will come up for you into the Summer Cues WOOC Lab. Begin to get your process going. And the argument is what's going to drive this process. So for those of you in the United States, your 3-chapter dissertation thesis, your proposal, or whatever your proposal work looked like anywhere in the world, you propose to do research, and your argument at that time is these ideas that I have are worthy of research. And my claim is that they are so worthy of research that you should give me the go ahead and I should be able to finish. That's essentially what you do in chapter 1, is you build the significance of your work. If you're in a 5-chapter model. If you're not in a 5-chapter model, that's the background section if you're writing a journal article. If you're in a 3-chapter model, it's the first part of that 3 chapters. So that's your claim. My claim used to be that my work is significant. That's not my claim now. Now I have data. Now I know something. Now my claim is that the something I know is significant to my field, the whole field, or my context, or whatever your significance is to. So significance can be at many levels. PhDs, by and large, your significance is to your field. STEM, to your field, but probably to the context of your field, because you guys cut it pretty small. Engineering, what kind of engineering? What kind of biology? What kind of this? So your significance is to a much smaller pod, not to biology in general. And you all have, depending on what kind of data you have, significance, if it's quantitative data, significance is literally a number that you match or don't match. That's all. That's your general claim. Your claim is chapter 1. Then you have your evidence, and evidence now comes in 2 places. This slide points out that its first evidence is your lit, that there were things in the lit that pointed to the fact that this was an important study. Second evidence, most important evidence now, is your results, because your claim now resides on top of your results. I'm going to say, I'm a biologist and I've done a particular kind of study with cells, and my claim is that the cells under these conditions have these outcomes, and my claim rests right on top of my results. So whatever that claim is in chapter 1 now has to exactly match what the natural outcome. Results, you're not telling people stuff, you're just giving them the data, but that results, I just see that claim sits on top of that evidence. The warrant is in the discussion, therefore you can see that this sandwich goes well together. Claim sits on top of evidence, and I'm telling you this discussion, which ties it back to my first evidence, which is the lit, and it all wraps up in this nice little package. So argument, we can't ever get very far away from it. It also is what I've talked about in other times as the golden thread, and that's kind of nice. You've got this thread that you're trying to bring your reader all the way through, sometimes a couple hundred pages, which is a challenge to itself. And you want them at the end to think 2 or 3 things. You better know what those 2 or 3 things are. And you better make sure that they are everywhere. So those of you who said you were concerned about the tying it all together, this is the secret to that. Know your argument, know where it goes, know your golden thread. I've had many people say they put it up on their wall over their computer. You don't ever want to get too far away from it. And then when you're analyzing these models you find, look for it. Probably the argument is going to be backwards in the abstract. More often than not, the last part of the abstract is the claim. Just above that is the evidence. Just above that is the warrant for why it's important and how it all ties together. So if you read an abstract backwards, most of the time you'll get what they thought, what their argument was. Then look at the document. Look at the different significant sections of the document and see if they are consistent with that. You're going to find some out there that aren't. There's lots of people who graduated and they didn't quite hit these marks. Their committee didn't quite make it, but you can't count on that. So you're going to want to do the work to make sure you are comfortable in your own self that you hit those marks. Okay, this is not the right. I'm mixed up on my slides. You have two groups. Your groups are those who are quantitative and those who are qualitative, and those who are writing right now and those who are thinking. So there's actually 4 permutations of these groups. And I would really like it if you would write me. I'm going to try to build a matrix here so I have a sense. I have to learn a lot of people. So I'm going to write Alana at if you would please write Alana at doctoralnet.com, and just so your name comes in on the email you're going to write, and you tell me, are you in a quantitative group? Are you in a qualitative group? Are you ready to write? Are you still thinking? And if you want to give me a 2 or 3 sentence argument, I'm happy to have it. And I'm going to build a matrix as this data comes in so that the next time we meet, I can kind of get a sense of how many I've got in each pod, and I can start to drill in my suggestions to be better for you. So I want you this week, get those models. Start writing every day. See if you can write your argument out. Send it to me. Tell me where you are. And if you are writing, start seeing what it's like to incorporate models in what you're writing, seeing how it changes your mind. And we're going to come prepared with questions. Go to, again, www.wooclap.com/summer QS. And next week, I'm going to come back with, there'll be some scenarios. So I'm going to see how many of you package out into the different groups. And then I'm going to really be able to say, qualitative group who are ready to write, this is a good thing for you to be doing this week. Qualitative group who don't have all your data together, you really need to be looking at getting all this put together. And I'll learn more. I mean, you have to teach me what you're doing. And there is final comment. We have a forum up in the pd.education site, and you can ask your questions there, and I will, I'm going to try to make it every day but Saturday to answer things in the forum. So there is a conversation thread in the forum that is for you, for people with data ready to finish. And I will try to do my very best to answer that so you can get some quicker feedback as well. Okay, mixed methods studies doesn't, and Adrian asked, what about studies who are mixed methods? Yeah, they may be enough of them to be another group, but we'll see what comes in. Yes, Adrian's cool, exactly right. And it's very good to have somebody who's always keeps me on my toes, that there could be 6 groups. It could be mixed methods and ready to write and not ready to think. We'll see what comes in. Criticisms are good as long as they are evidence-based. Yeah, well, that's true, Adrian, and your committee may not have them evidence-based at all. They just may be criticisms. So you have to be prepared for all kinds of things. Okay, so we have, so it'll be, Hannah just gave me another option, which is, she has a 3-article dissertation. That doesn't matter. The format you're in doesn't matter because you're working through the same thoughts, just slightly different. So Hannah has a 3-article dissertation. She's going to need to find examples of multi-article dissertations. They're a little harder to find. And where do you go to find your models? You go to ProQuest. ProQuest publishes most of the dissertations across universities. If your university, for whatever reason, doesn't have a subscription to ProQuest, you go, that's my email address, and you go to there. And you can look up, you do a search, and you can look up your subject matter, and you can also look up perhaps 3-article dissertations. I found them without needing to search exactly for them. The videos that are part of the modules in the website, which I will show you in just a minute. The first video is me doing a comparative analysis on a spreadsheet across different finished dissertations. And 3 of them are 5-chapter dissertations, and 2 are 3-article dissertations. So you can see that the same ideas hold true, and I've got the dissertations, I give you the links to them, and you can go look at them, but you can hear how an examiner thinks about what is the final writing. That's the most important leap you will need to make right now, is you will need to get some idea of how an examiner is going to look at your work. You can kind of gather that, then you know them, then you know the persona of who you are writing for, and it's a little easier target. Okay, we're going to come back to Q&A and how we do. I'm going to switch right now to screen sharing, so bear with me as I bring up the site, and I want to show you what is best for you on whichever PD education site you are going to. So this has to go here, and this has to go here. Okay. Now back to you and screen share. Okay, there's my screen. If you just go to pd.education, you get this list of all the universities that are using us, and at the bottom there is demo. If you are at one of those universities, you have been given your sign-on, which is based upon your username is your university email address, and your password is some derivation of your university's normal initials and #123. So you have some email that told you and what that should be. And if you can't get in, you write Sonia at pd.education. So she's our tech support, and she's happy to help you get in. If you don't have a subscription, you use the sign-on page that I gave you at the beginning, but that's a long time ago, so let me just pull it up now. Here it is. You can register for pd.education there. You can come to this page after you register. You pull down, as part of the registration, you pull down the fact that you want to go to the demo site. You go back here, you go all the way down to the bottom, and you go into demo. And really, the only difference in all of these sites is the way they look. It has to do with branding, and the site for your university is your university branding. So we're waiting for it to come up. Takes a while because it's screen sharing. Okay, so this is what you get dropped into. I will point out a couple of things. I'll just start getting them open, and I'll give you a rundown on the whole. All right, so you come in, depending on the size of your screen. Directed learning modules are broken out into background, lit, methodology, results, and findings. The first portion of them. It's a list. The first portion of the list is that video I talked about where I analyze as an examiner a number of finished dissertations around that topic, and it starts with argument. This is also the place you go to get into the forum where you have those other conversations, where you can get quick stuff back. I'm doing this is something I wrote. These are questions I'm having, whatever it is, always go to the conversation for those with data. Okay, so then if you scroll down, just to say, if you all want also an endorsement from us that you are good on your own feet and you can search out outside professional development and you're a learner, those are all qualities that employers like. And if you want that, you are automatically have it because it requires 7 hours and this class is 7 weeks. So you can earn an endorsement letter from us. It requires that you do a spreadsheet at the end, and we're happy to do that. You figure it out there. Most of the time, this area is full of videos. There is an events calendar, runs up and down, so you can see what's coming up, and it'll give you the links to it. It's a good place to go. And there's just some latest forums just to get people excited about being in the forum. Keep scrolling down. And here's the another way to get into all those modules. And then at the bottom, here's the list of all the self-assessments. Self-assessments are most important for people just planning, but you as writers might want to do them again just to make sure that your problem statement meets the criteria, that your way you talk about your population meets criteria. These are designed to be thinking tools, and they can be equally important to you as they were at the beginning. Some people use them to very good effect. On this first page, the most important thing is your to-do list is filled with all the best stuff. And one of them is the must-see videos. And when you go there, this beginning with the end in mind for master's and doctoral work, if you haven't watched it, it's really useful. It analyzes what these documents look like in a spreadsheet. You have your academic writing stuff. And then for you, there is, where is it? Surviving your final defense or viva. Sometime in the next 7 weeks, you should watch that because it will help you get to know what the next game is when you're still around here and you can ask us questions. Getting your docs ready for the end game, those two really have your name on them. And as you go back to work and have other things go on, work-life balance in grad school is good. Preparing your presentation, those will be good. So there's a lot. The on-demand videos are really the ones we think everybody should watch. This is the self-directed learning when you click into it. And you have, as I said, argumentation, building your argument, background lit, methodology, results and findings. And self-assessments, another way to get them is there. So that's your basic. And how do you find stuff? So somebody asked, they were watching a webinar. The webinar had used spreadsheets. We use spreadsheets a lot. They're very useful tools, but the spreadsheet didn't come with the webinar. So if you go to search and you type in spreadsheets, you get a search result for all of the spreadsheets we have. That's the fastest way. And if you can't find them, you ask Siobhan, SIOBHAN at pd.education, and she will help you find the materials physically. So what have we got in the chat? Thank you very much for that. I'm going to stop screen sharing. So this was a how you got started day and a what is up. I hope that some of you who said it was daunting see that there really are processes to make it less daunting. I hope for those of you that told me that procrastination has been an issue, you just say, I have to get that regular habit going because that's what's going to get me past this. Once you get something going, it all gets easier. So it's like inertia. You start running a marathon, you don't run the 26 miles the first day. You just start running a little and you work up to it. Adrienne comments that she highly recommends Dr. Maria's argumentation series. And you can go to the website and you can look at argumentation. There are 4 or 5 now. There's the overview, and then I think 4 different kinds of arguments. They help you think about the academic patterning that this work is based on. It's very important. Okay, there's a lot of you in the room. Let me just go see how many of you have done the poll. Because if you haven't, please do so now. You click on polls. I've got 10 responses, 11 responses on the bottom one, and 17 people in the room. So let me just say, you all just finished getting your data. You know how hard it is to get data. Please help me understand everybody in the room by doing the polls. And how did we do? Do you feel like you got the right habits? Or you know what those habits are? Do you feel like you can get this course, that you understand how you might be able to get this done in 6 months? 6 months really. Do you understand how the groups are going to work? I don't know actually how important they are in terms of groups, like talking together, although they might be. It depends. When it comes to data, we might do that. I might set up rooms and suggest that all the qualitative people go there and have a discussion, or we might do it on the website in terms of forum. I might give you a forum for this stuff. So I need to know how many people are in what pod. And then I can start working out how do we get this stuff done. And once again, I'm going to put it in the chat because I didn't copy my slides very well. And it is www.wooclap.com/summer cues. That's how you get your answers done. Office hours for you are on Wednesdays and Thursdays. And the proper SurveyMonkey is in the chat, is in the poll. If you haven't done the survey is surveymonkey.com/r/docs finishing. So that takes me back to the beginning. You might just want to give me feedback. Scale of 1 to 5, 5 being, yeah, I feel better, I'm ready to go. 4 being, I'm still a little confused, but I'm ready to watch this again. You will get this, by the way, you will get recordings. If you signed up, it's very important you register for all of these, because once you register, you get the recordings. That means you don't always have to come, or time comes up. And sometimes we will be discussing stuff that is dense enough that you will want the recording to refer back to. And you will get this one probably tomorrow. Okay, questions? Just exactly the hour, but I will stay a few minutes. If you are satisfied, thank you for being here. Thank you for wanting to be part of this group. It is my joy to help people finish. That's one of the things I love to do most. So talk to me, really work the process, set up your habits, and I promise you will be well on your way to getting this over and done. Thank you for coming. It takes 2 sides. You're welcome. I hope to see you in office hours or next week. and through the forum or through WooClap. Very good. Very good. Happy to help. Anybody raise your hand in the chat if you have a question. Otherwise, I'll say goodbye and close out the room. But if you wanted to hang out and had a few things to talk about, I'm happy to stay too. Excellent, excellent. Hopefully it jazz you going. It's time to get the motivation up. See you all soon. I'll wait. I see a hand going up. I'll wait for the question. To get to the correct site. Okay, so it is pd.education. And Tom, Tim, are you one of the universities on that list? Of course, I will stay for questions. So I have questions from Hannah. I'm helping Tim get on. And Marugi, I'm probably not, you're going to have to help me say it. You're welcome. What's a good place to start with finding the 5 dissertation models? I might have missed that. No problem. So ProQuest is the company that publishes the broadest range of dissertations. And ProQuest has, did I close it down? Let me go get, they have an open access link. Not all of their dissertations go there, but it's a decent place. I use it for the examples. They're kind of middle of the range dissertations, and this is their link. pqdtopen.proquest.com. Oh, if you signed up a few years ago, Tim totally new. Yeah, you know how technology is. Totally new. So you will need to go to, and let me just once again get that link so it's at the bottom of the chat. You need to go to this link and register. And during the registration process, you pull down that you're going to go to the demo link. And then you can go to pd.education, scroll down to the bottom and hit demo, and that'll take you into the site where you sign up with those same things. And Hannah, I'm waiting for a question from you, so I'm sure you're typing. Anybody else? Welcome. I know some of you are still here, so you're welcome to ask questions as well, or maybe you're just waiting to see what other people ask, because sometimes that might be something you needed to and you don't know. I'm preparing for my comprehensive exam while at the same time writing my 3-article dissertation. I wonder if you have any resources or suggestions. I don't go into comprehensive exams, but I'll tell you basically how I recommend you do it. I recommend you pull out all your notes from all of your classes, or hopefully you've saved the syllabus from your classes, and you go through them and you think to yourself, what are the significant things in each of these classes? And if I was going to ask questions, what would I be asking questions on? And that's your best prep, because you don't know until you get it. But that prep refreshes your brain about the whole experience, and everybody who's come back to me after saying that says it was helpful. Other than that, we don't work with the comprehensive exam business. Okay, I think I'm done, unless anybody else, you have a moment to raise your hand in the chat box to tell me something you want to ask, another question or make another comment. So I'll say going once, going twice. No hands are going up. Once again, thank you very, very much for being here. This work is fun for me, so I'm delighted. And I'm delighted to know you all better as the 7 weeks go on. And with that, I'm going to end the, first I have to close off the recording.